Baseball is about to witness an attempted sporting coup that would make every other front office in the sport simultaneously furious and powerless to respond. The Los Angeles Dodgers already carry the heaviest payroll, the most luminous names, and the most feared rotation on the planet. But for Hollywood's front office and Detroit's media circle, that extraordinary accumulation apparently remains insufficient. They want total control. They want the complete annihilation of competitive opposition before the first pitch of the regular season establishes the hierarchy that everyone already suspects. The proposal surfacing in the last several hours represents a direct insult to the concept of league parity. The suggestion on the table involves the Dodgers shipping an elite prospect package to the Detroit Tigers in exchange for reigning Cy Young Award winner Tarik Skubal. The justification offered is that Japanese prodigy Roki Sasaki is experiencing difficulties during spring training and that Shohei Ohtani's return from injury carries inherent unpredictability. It is the perfect organizational excuse to spend $500 million on a piece that this team theoretically doesn't require to win a championship. Today, we're cutting through every layer of this monopoly attempt with complete analytical honesty. We'll expose why burning the farm system's future for a fifth ace represents a tactical error disguised as a display of strength, how baseball's swift justice will extract payment from the Dodgers for this specific brand of arrogance, and what it means to the sport's competitive landscape if a single franchise decides that every elite pitcher on the planet should reside in California simultaneously. Before the Skubal versus Sasaki comparison hits your screen in full detail, you assume Andrew Friedman's chair right now. The check is blank and the organizational pressure is absolute. Do you surrender Zaire Hope and River Ryan, the genuine future of this franchise, to acquire Tarik Skubal today, guaranteeing that nobody in the league possesses a realistic competitive chance against you? Or do you trust Ohtani's recovery process, believe in Sasaki's talent trajectory, and protect your jewels for franchise's long-term sustainability? Think with a casino owner's cold mathematics, because stacking too many stars in the same spotlight typically leaves insufficient electricity for the ones who actually need to shine. Let's examine the tactical disposal bin where the supposedly unbeatable deal actually belongs. The Dodgers currently roster Yamamoto, Snell, Sasaki, and Glasnow as their established rotation foundation. Adding Skubal to that inventory isn't roster reinforcement addressing a genuine competitive vulnerability. It's a preventive panic certificate issued before the competition has demonstrated any capacity to exploit an actual weakness. Championship organizations strengthen identified deficiencies. They don't accumulate redundant elite assets at the cost of developmental infrastructure, simply because the financial resources exist to execute the transaction. Tarik Skubal's individual quality deserves complete acknowledgement before the analytical critique of this proposal proceeds. The Cy Young Award he earned reflects genuine, sustained dominance that transcends the statistical conversation and enters a territory of competitive performance that reshapes postseason expectations. His ability to consume innings with elite efficiency while maintaining the stuff quality that generates swing and miss results against the sport's best lineups represents exactly the pitcher profile that every championship rotation covets. He is not a marginal upgrade or situational improvement. He is a generational starting pitcher operating at the peak of his capabilities during what should be his prime competitive years. The problem isn't Skubal's quality. The problem is the specific context into which the Dodgers would be inserting that quality, and the price they would be paying to acquire what the existing roster already provides in sufficient abundance. Yoshinobu Yamamoto represents one of the sport's elite starting pitchers when operating at an established ceiling, a competitor whose stuff quality and competitive intelligence have produced dominance at every level he has encountered. Blake Snell, despite the injury concerns that have historically complicated his availability, carries ace-level capability when the mechanics align and the health cooperates. Sasaki's spring training difficulties represent developmental turbulence that every pitcher navigating the transition from MPB to MLB encounters during the adjustment period, not evidence of a fundamental capability gap that requires external reinforcement to address. Glasnow's glass reputation is legitimate and well documented, but his stuff when healthy generates the kind of performance that makes lineups uncomfortable in ways that even elite hitters struggle to manage. The rotation the Dodgers currently field isn't a construction desperately requiring an additional Cy Young winner to become competitive. It's already the most talented assembled unit in the sport, operating with the specific fragility that accompanies elite arm talent, and requiring depth management rather than headline acquisition. This is precisely where baseball's swift justice would deliver its most pointed organizational lesson to a front office that confused accumulation with strategy. The karma embedded in trading Hope and River Ryan for a fifth ace that the current roster doesn't genuinely need operates through the specific mechanism that organizational overreach consistently triggers. Swift justice doesn't announce its arrival schedule. It simply waits for the moment when the accumulated cost of decision becomes fully visible in competitive context where it matters most. The punishment scenario writes itself through the season's natural progression. June arrives and Skubal settles into a rotation that already is for legitimate major league starters competing for turns, creating deployment complications that no manager resolves without generating clubhouse friction among elite competitors accustomed to defined roles and consistent usage patterns. Meanwhile, Hope develops in Minnesota's system with the organizational patience and deployment consistency that his ceiling requires, projecting toward the all-star conversations that the Dodgers' own scouts projected before the transaction surrendered his development to a different organization. Ryan's arm develops under a different pitching infrastructure, and the return on the prospect investment that Los Angeles made to produce both players flows directly into a competitor's competitive window, rather than reinforcing the organization that developed them. The financial architecture surrounding this transaction deserves examination beyond the prospect cost that dominates the immediate conversation. Skubal's contract situation entering free agency creates a compressed value window that the Dodgers will be acquiring at precisely the moment when Detroit's leverage is maximized by the approaching deadline. Scott Boras negotiating Skubal's free agent contract will construct a demand structure that reflects the market created by his Cy Young performance, and any organization acquiring him through trade inherits the contractual obligation of meeting that demand or watching the investment walk away after delivering one season of contribution against a full prospect package surrender. The mathematics of that trade structure require the acquired pitcher to deliver multiple seasons of elite performance to generate positive return on the developmental assets surrendered, and the free agency timeline compresses that return window uncomfortably. The competitive league implications extend beyond the immediate organizational calculation into territory that the sport's competitive balance framework is designed to prevent from becoming permanent. Baseball's revenue-sharing structure, draft ordering, and amateur acquisition regulations exist specifically to prevent the concentration of elite talent that creates permanent competitive stratification. When a single franchise accumulates enough pitching talent that the fourth starter on their depth chart would anchor any other rotation in the league, the competitive integrity of the pennant race becomes a philosophical question rather than an empirical competition. The Dodgers already test that threshold with their current construction. Adding Skubal pushes the organization beyond the boundary where competitive balance concerns become legitimate rather than simply the frustrated commentary of smaller market rivals. Sasaki's spring training difficulties deserve contextualization that the panic narrative surrounding this trade proposal consistently omits. Every pitcher making the transition from NPB competition to the specific demands of Major League spring training encounters an adjustment period that frequently produces results disconnected from their actual competitive ceiling. The physical environment, the competitive context, the routine adjustments, and mechanical recalibrations that any elite pitcher makes when encountering a new competitive landscape require time to stabilize into a performance baseline that represents their genuine capability. Treating Sasaki's current turbulence as permanent evidence of rotation inadequacy rather than temporary developmental adjustment reflects the specific organizational impatience that leads to the kind of prospect-burning decisions that haunt front offices for years after the immediate crisis passes. The casino table mathematics that should govern this decision are straightforward when stripped of the media narrative pressure that surrounds any Skubal trade rumor. The Dodgers currently hold the strongest hand at the table. They hold it without Hope and Ryan departing through trade. Adding Skubal through a massive prospect surrender doesn't improve the hand's competitive strength proportionally to the cost. It converts organizational future into marginal present improvement, while the existing construction already provides a competitive foundation necessary to pursue the championship that justifies this entire conversation. The blank check is sitting on the table, and the decision just dropped into your lap with full organizational consequence attached. Staring at a rotation already featuring for legitimate major league starters, while the farm system's most compelling futures await their development opportunity. Do you sign the check, surrender hope and Ryan, acquire Skubal, and announce to the sport that Los Angeles has decided competitive balance is a concept that applies to every other franchise? Or do you trust the existing construction, allow Sasaki's adjustment period to resolve naturally, protect the developmental assets that sustain organizational competitiveness beyond the current window, and compete for 3 consecutive championships with extraordinary roster already wearing Dodger blue? Send your most analytical verdict into the comments without softening a single edge. The Dodgers built their championship foundation on organizational intelligence that distinguishes genuine competitive need from headline acquisition driven by available resources and media pressure. Stacking too many stars in the same spotlight doesn't multiply the illumination. It creates the organizational shadows where franchises' long-term competitive health quietly disappears while everyone watches a performance happening at center stage.